Dharma Drum Mountain sits on a hill where the Coastal Highway and Yangjin Highway meet. The mountain ridge on its left is like a bell in the sky, with Dharma Drum Mountain resembling a giant drum. Master Sheng Yen thus borrowed the idea from a passage in the Lotus Sutra. We beg the honored heavenly and human beings to turn the wheel of the unsurpassed Dharma, strike the great Dharma drum, blow the great Dharma conch, rain down the great Dharma rain to deliver countless sentient beings, and name this extraordinary place Dharma Drum Mountain to symbolize sharing the Buddha Dharma through the gentle yet rich drumbeat that moves the world, and the clear ring of the bell that purifies the mundane world. Dharma Drum Mountain is named after the Dharma drum. That which spreads the Buddha Dharma is a Dharma drum, and to share the Dharma is to beat the Dharma drum. We sound the bell, the Lotus Bell, to signify the Buddha Dharma as a whole, and using the Buddha Dharma to save our world. Past the main entrance, Bell Mountain is to the right of Fayin Road. At the foot of the mountain is the Lotus Bell Park, where a giant bell is situated. A simple bell, yet elegant, of modest yet graceful design, inspiring aspirations for the magnificent, in harmony with the surrounding architecture, symbolizing the bell and drum sounding together, the sound of a bright future. Cast with the entire text of the Lotus Sutra, the Lotus Bell highlights calligraphy and painting by prominent artists, showcasing a perfect marriage of traditional craftsmanship and modern technology, a treasure of Dharma Drum Mountain and a world-class work of art. Temple bells inscribed with characters are common, but a bell cast with the entire Lotus Sutra is rare. The Lotus Sutra, as translated by Kumarajiva in the 4th century AD, appears on both surfaces of the bell, using calligraphy by Yuan Hao, a Yuan dynasty monastic, totaling 69,636 characters. The bell's interior also features the Great Compassion Mantra, Dharma Drum Mountain, inaugurated 2005, and respectfully cast by Sheng Yen with the monastic and lay Sangha. Including the sutra, its title, the mantra, the names of the ancient and contemporary calligraphers, and the dedication, a total of 70,152 characters are cast on the bell, with a compact sense of order. At the front of the bell tower, we see the title of the Lotus Sutra on the front of the bell, using 5 characters in seal-style script by Du Zhonggao, a prominent Taiwan calligrapher. I wrote the 5 characters Miao Fa Lian Hua Jing in something between Zhuan style and Li style, a transitional writing style that emerged as the Zhuan style evolved into the Li style. This style's special character is that it's a bit classical and a bit abstract, for it still has a seal script flavor, yet also shows a bit of the Li style. So it's close to the Kai, or standard style, which makes it easier to read. And I think this style gives a more steady, stately, and solid feel. The only bell in history that has more engraved Chinese characters than the Lotus Bell is the Yongle Bell in Beijing, cast in the early 15th century. Since its casting technique was lost, most later bells feature auspicious patterns such as dragons, flora, or celestials in flight, with a decorative shape popular in the Ming Dynasty. In 2003, the Dharma Drum Mountain team traveled around Taiwan, Japan, Korea, and China, spending over a year visiting different casting companies to make a thorough investigation and comparison. Shifu said he wanted to have a 25-ton bell made and embossed with the complete Lotus Sutra and the Great Compassion Mantra. Casting weights over 25 tons requires a furnace capacity of about 27 or 28. or even 30 tons, to complete pouring and casting all at once. But bell foundries in Taiwan currently don't have that kind of equipment. Bells made in Japan have a beautiful sound. They follow traditional ancient casting techniques. But they were worried about having to cast so many characters. They were somewhat unsure about casting so many characters, because that would definitely affect the bell's sound. It's not the first time we cast a large bell, so we were confident about meeting the requirements. But casting the Lotus Sutra's more than 70,000 characters was a bigger issue than the size and weight concerns. Using the temple bell casting techniques available in Japan to cast 70,000 characters is a great technical challenge. In the beginning, we considered whether we could actually include them all. In May of 2004, the Dharma Drum Mountain team decided to commission a company with over 200 years of bell casting experience, Japan's Oigo Works, to take on the task of recreating this Tang-style temple bell. We asked them to have the characters protrude 2.5 millimeters from the bell's surface. Our calculations showed that would allow them to last for at least 1,000 years without wearing away. A bell sends out sound waves when it vibrates. Its height, width, thickness, and the curve of its interior, as well as the number, the size, and the thickness of the characters to be cast, all influence its sound frequency. If a temple bell has an exceptionally deep tone, you will feel as if the sound is emerging from deep within the earth, a very firm and steady sound, like the sound of a dragon. Hearing that kind of sound calms your mind. Casting the characters took 4 months. The characters were scanned and then made into wooden models. Then special clay press molds were used to make book-shaped sand casts, which were fired to make brick molds. On April 8, 2005, 2 Dharma assemblies were simultaneously held in Japan and Taiwan to pray for a successful casting, and the crucial pouring of bronze was carried out amid solemn chanting. This is a very special bell, so I remember starting early that morning. I was really nervous. Once the molten bronze is poured into the mold, you don't get a second chance. Especially with the Lotus Bell, just preparing the 70,000 characters took almost a year, and those few minutes during the casting decide success or failure. Standing 2 floors high above the mold, Oigo Works technicians poured 25 tons of bronze, heated to 1,000 degrees Celsius, into the top of the mold, maneuvering the molten bronze to flow evenly and fill in the characters of the sutra text, and making sure the bell cooled properly to avoid cracks that would render the bell useless. After the mold was removed, all the hard work was rewarded. The casting was perfect. We wanted to make the Lotus Bell a symbol of the Buddha Dharma as an integral whole at Dharma Drum Mountain. It's the Lotus Bell of compassion and wisdom. In addition to the Lotus Sutra, the Great Compassion Mantra also appears on the inside of the bell. Prostrating to the Lotus Bell is equivalent to prostrating to the Lotus Sutra. By striking the bell, we can hear the entire Lotus Sutra and the Great Compassion Mantra. This is a bell of infinite radiance and infinite hope. A year and a half later, this marvelous Lotus Bell finally made its public appearance. Made of a bronze, iron, and tin alloy, the The Lotus Bell is 4.5 meters tall, 2.64 meters in diameter, and 29.6 centimeters at its thickest, adopting the Tang style, simple yet refined, unadorned but majestic. In January of 2006, the Lotus Bell was welcomed back to Dharma Drum Mountain. With such a huge and heavy bell, it wasn't feasible to build the bell tower in advance. So after the bell arrived at Dharma Drum Mountain, construction of the bell tower soon began. After 7 months of great expectations, the bell tower was finally completed. On the afternoon of December 23, 2006, over 10,000 devotees attended the Lotus Bell's solemn inauguration ceremony. Upon emitting its first ring, the Lotus Bell was officially in use, bearing a message of illumination and hope for the world. The Tang-style Lotus Bell echoes the simplicity of the complex's architecture and the Tang-style Buddha statues, unadorned and dignified. Having no elaborate designs, the powerful sutra text itself takes the lead role, unencumbered by secondary decorations, enhancing the Lotus Bell's power to inspire human minds. On the back of the bell and surrounded by the sutra text is a relief entitled "Two Buddhas Sitting in the Pagoda of Many Treasures," which becomes a visual focal point. The relief depicts a rare scene appearing only in the Lotus Sutra, Chapter 11, entitled "The Emergence of the Treasure Tower." That chapter tells us the Buddha of many treasures once made a vow, saying, "After I attain Buddhahood and enter nirvana, my pagoda, for those who listen to the sutra, will appear as a testament everywhere that the Lotus Sutra is recited." So when Shakyamuni Buddha was about to teach the Lotus Sutra at Vulture Peak, the Buddha of many treasures appeared in the air through the power of his vow and shared a seat with Shakyamuni Buddha. The relief depicts the story as found in the Lotus Sutra and displays the spirit of the one Buddha vehicle. When the Lotus Bell is rung, Shakyamuni Buddha and the Buddha of many treasures will protect and bless sentient beings. In addition to the exquisite bell, the 6-pillar Lotus Bell Tower also embodies the essence of the Lotus Sutra. Leading up to the tower are 3 flights of stairs with 2 platforms. To walk up these steps is to enter an atmosphere of solemn sanctity. The tower design was inspired by the idea of returning to nature, making it appear to be a wooden structure. But the bell is extremely big, so if the tower was made of wood, then it would be hard to find suitable materials. So the easiest solution was a steel structure, ornamented with wooden frames, so that it has the strength of a steel structure with the warmth of a wooden structure. So the style is more characteristic of a Han culture bell tower. A tablet by calligrapher Zhen Antian is hung at the front of the tower and says "King of all sutras," along with a couplet by Master Sheng Yen, which says, "The great assembly on Vulture Peak has not yet disbanded. All saints appear as the Lotus Bell sounds." Aptly expressing the bell's profound spirit, the calligraphy also echoes its imposing splendor. Downhill from the bell tower is a welcome bell, a miniature replica of the Lotus Bell. The bell is inscribed with Master Sheng Yen's calligraphy of the chapter on the Universal Gate of Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara in the Lotus Sutra. Visitors are permitted to strike the welcome bell, as every sounding of the bell signifies reciting the whole chapter, an affinity with the Lotus Bell, and the arising of infinite virtue. Every Chinese New Year's Eve, the Water and Land Dharma Service and the Transmitting the Light of Dharma Day in memory of Master Sheng Yen and the Lotus Bell sounding ceremony are held on Dharma Drum Mountain. Toward the end of each year, the sound of this bell cleanses the human mind to renew ourselves and our society. With the 108 strokes of the bell, each and every stroke serves as a prayer and a call. Over the past few years, on Chinese New Year's Eve, many devotees have come from far and wide to gather on Dharma Drum Mountain. Seeing those devotees, I was deeply moved. I have high hopes for this ceremony and trust that the sound of the bell will echo into the future forever. The 108 bell strokes on Chinese New Year's Eve is a grand annual event at Dharma Drum Mountain, symbolizing the shattering of the 108 kinds of afflictions. Every year, people from all walks of life join in this ceremonial renewal to release their troubles through the sound of the bell. We hope this grand ceremony will continue and become a cultural event in Taiwan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the 108th stroke of the Lotus Bell. Let us follow the bell sound to eliminate our afflictions and embrace our hopes. Let us welcome the new year and invite blessings with devout sincerity. In sounding the bell, what's most touching and most beautiful is as the monks strike the bell, their mutual coordination and the rhythm of their movements in sync with the swinging of the beam, inspiring our breathing. Between each stroke, the sound of the bell spreads out like water throughout Dharma Drum Mountain and its surroundings, giving you a far-reaching vision. This is a truly beautiful bell. Hearing the bell is like hearing the Dharma, and hearing the Dharma is like seeing the Buddha. By showing universal respect to all, one's mind is a place of practice where a Buddha resides. By practicing and sharing the Buddha Dharma, we will attain great joy and liberation in life. Let us follow the profound and lasting sound of the Dharma, help the benefits of the Buddha Dharma prevail in this world, and pray for blessings for all humanity.